My name is Sarah. Standing in the courthouse hallway, I clutch a thick folder of evidence to my chest, feeling the weight of the past few months. The judge has just granted me a temporary restraining order against my parents and sister. The scratching of his pen on the order sounds like the final nail in the coffin of my toxic family ties. As I step out into the crisp afternoon air, I don't feel victorious. I just feel an overwhelming sense of relief. It all started when I received an envelope from a law firm on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday. Tuesdays were usually my light days at work, just a couple of property showings and some paperwork. As I made my way up to my apartment, I grabbed my mail and started sifting through the usual junk, credit card offers, a grocery store flyer, and a reminder from my dentist. Then I spotted it. A heavy, cream-colored envelope with the return address of a well-known estate planning firm. My heart skipped a beat. It was the trust fund my grandmother had set up for me, the one my parents had managed since I turned 18. They promised it would be mine at 28, and it had been 3 weeks since my birthday. I fumbled with my keys, nearly dropped my purse, and rushed inside to tear the envelope open. A check slipped out, and my stomach plummeted when I saw the amount. $14,650. 28. It couldn't be right. I remembered overhearing my parents talking about it when I was a kid. Grandma had set it up with a life insurance payout and smart investments, and they'd always made it sound like it would change my life. As I unfolded the accompanying letter, I realized the truth. There were years of administrative fees, expense reimbursements, and trustee compensation that I'd never authorized. My parents, as the trustees, had legally drained between $100,000 and $130,000 from my inheritance. And then my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother, asking if I'd received my little check and joking not to spend it all at once. I was furious. Memories of the past came flooding back. When I was 16, finishing my junior year of high school, my dad came home with brochures for a Disney World trip. My older sister, Lily, the golden child of the family, was overjoyed. My mom started planning outfits right away. When I asked if I could go, my dad said the hotel was fully booked and there was only room for the 3 of them. I later found out that was a lie. They just didn't want me there. College was no better. I worked 2 jobs, at the campus library during the day and as a waitress at night, to cover the costs that my scholarships didn't. My parents said the trust was locked until I graduated and that I needed to learn the value of hard work. Meanwhile, Lily got a full-ride scholarship, a monthly allowance, a car, and a laptop. On my graduation night, my parents texted me that something had come up and they'd celebrate later. I found out later that they'd taken Lily to Paris to celebrate her engagement. I'd always been too afraid to question my parents about the trust. Once, when I was 22 and struggling to pay rent, I called my dad to ask if I could access a small amount of the funds early. His voice turned cold, threatening to have me declared incompetent and freeze the funds if I kept questioning him. After that, I learned to stay silent. But then, a few days after getting the disappointing check, I got a Facebook notification from a distant cousin. It was a photo of my entire family, my parents and Lily, lounging on a beautiful beach in Cabo San Lucas, captioning it as a family vacation, living their best life. They'd used my money to have a luxury vacation while I'd been struggling. That night, I almost didn't go to Aunt Grace's for dinner. I'd promised to go, but I felt so raw and hurt. Aunt Grace lived in a quiet neighborhood outside the city, with a small house and a big yard. Uncle Tom's old, maintained truck was in the driveway. The front door opened before I could knock, and Aunt Grace pulled me into a warm, rosemary-scented hug. Her hugs always made me feel safe. Inside, Uncle Tom was cooking pork chops in a cast-iron skillet. He grinned when he saw me and put the best-looking chop on my plate. At that moment, my phone buzzed with a bank notification. I just received a $42,000 commission for a big commercial property deal I'd been working on for 3 months. It was nearly 3 times what my parents had left me from the trust. Looking at Aunt Grace, Uncle Tom, and that simple act of kindness, I realized that family wasn't about blood. They were the ones who showed up for me, who loved me unconditionally. For the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of courage. A few days later, my mother called, sugary sweet as always. She invited me on a family trip to Aspen for Christmas, but I knew there was a catch. Sure enough, they wanted me to wire $2,000 for the villa rental and babysit Lily's daughter while she attended influencer events. I finally snapped and told them no. I hung up on my mother, blocked their numbers, and for the first time, I stood up for myself. I decided to use my hard-earned money to show what real family meant. I used my credit card miles and commission to book a week-long all-inclusive trip to the Maldives for Aunt Grace, Uncle Tom, my young cousin Maya, and me. When I told them about the trip at Aunt Grace's house, their reactions were priceless. Aunt Grace was in tears, Uncle Tom was speechless, and Maya was jumping up and down with excitement. The trip to the Maldives was like stepping into a dream. The water was an impossible shade of turquoise, and the water villa was paradise. Maya filmed everything for her TikTok account, and one of her videos about our trip went viral. It told the story of how I'd been mistreated by my family and how I'd chosen to spend my money on the people who truly loved me. The video caught the attention of many, including Lily's major sponsor. They terminated their partnership with her because of the negative public perception of her family situation. Lily was furious and posted a venomous video on Instagram, editing old voicemails and conversations to make me look like a villain. She even doxed me, exposing my contact information and address. When I got back to the States, my parents and Lily showed up at my apartment, pounding on the door and demanding compensation for the damage I'd caused to Lily's career. But this time, Uncle Tom was with me. He stood up to them, a towering figure of strength. His calm but firm words made my father back down. We called the police and started filing for a restraining order. Then came the open house for a $3 million luxury property that was supposed to be my big break in the real estate business. Just as everything was going perfectly, my mother and Lily showed up, causing a scene and trying to ruin the sale. But I kept my cool, called the police for trespassing and disturbing the peace, and managed to turn the situation around. A potential buyer, impressed by my professionalism, decided to buy the house at the full asking price. Now here I am with a new name, Sarah Miller, after being adopted by Aunt Grace and Uncle Tom. I've moved to a new condo, and I have a protected career. I've built a beautiful life in the ruins left by my biological family. The daughter's revenge isn't about destruction. It's about choosing love and building a future with the people who truly care.